welcome to the Chronicles of Nania, a nanny resource podcast made for nannies by me, a nanny. I'm your host, Martha Reddick, and this week we are going to be talking about chores and creating a chore schedule with children. And to do that, I have got Greg Mercet. Hello, Greg.
Hi, good to be with you today.
It's so nice to have you. Greg approached me with his idea called Busy Kid, which I was immediately intrigued by. And I wanted to talk to you more about it because I think it's so great. So can you start by telling me what is Busy Kid?
Yeah, so, I like to describe Busy Kid kind of this way, which is it's your kid's first job with direct deposit, okay? And you think about it, kids can't get jobs until they're 16, really,
right.
Real jobs. And so you got to get them to learn two really primary things, I think. Number one is work ethic. I think a lot of kids are struggling with that particular thing today. So work ethic.
Agree.
and there's a lot of reasons why that I think that people are struggling with that work ethic. And frankly, it's even getting harder and harder to teach your kids work ethic because, we're not raised on a farm anymore. And there's not, big yards to take care of and do all the stuff that maybe they used to do a while back. So it's becoming a big challenge. And so teaching work ethic is a really big deal. And then the second big deal is, how do you teach your kids to make good decisions with money? And that's becoming even more challenging as well because their money is invisible to kids anymore.
Right.
Because us as parents, and we don't really have a big wad of cash in our pockets or purses anymore. We just have a card, I literally don't even have a wallet anymore. I have a phone case that I put 3 or 4 cards in, and that's it.
Wow. Right.
It's so totally liberating. I love it. It's like, oh my goodness, I haven't lost my wallet in a year.
I bet. Yeah.
Because you can, you're never going to lose your phone. It's just glued to you. Right. So, so it's a wonderful thing, but it's an invisible money kind of world. And so trying to get those two things into your kids is very hard. Work ethic and how to make good money decisions. And so that's why Busy Kid came to be. And that's literally why it's your kid's first job with direct deposit. You as a parent, you give your kids some chores to do. They do the chores. They earn some money. And then literally on Thursday, you're going to get a text message from Busy Kid that says, hey, Johnny earned $20 this week. Do you want to pay him, yes or no? And all you do is reply to the text, yes. And that pulls the money from your account into the Busy Kid system and allocates that money into saving, sharing, and spending, which is Finance 101.
Right.
So we kind of automated all of that. And then I just describe it as direct deposit because that's truly what it is.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And I love the idea that the kids can see that happen through the app. They can see that money is coming in and where it's going, and then there's kind of a safe spot for them to almost play with that money, right?
Yeah, I mean, I like the way that you said they get to see it because it truly makes what is invisible visible.
Right. And that's so important.
Yeah. And really, money is numbers on a screen now. It seems so weird because it used to be jingling and jangling around in your pocket or your purse. And now it's not. Right. It's just a number, decimal point, with some numbers in your pocket as well. It's just on a device.
Right.
It's really weird, but that is truly where we're at right now. And as such, we believe you have to teach this in a different way. Like the old piggy bank or envelopes or whatever on your dresser drawer, that ship has sailed. Like
Or a shoebox. I had a shoebox.
a shoebox, jar, baby food jars, whatever. Like all of that stuff is just so antiquated, and it doesn't truly get them to the point that they need to be in the world we live in.
Right. That's a really good point. So for setting kids up for which chores they're going to do, my understanding is that you start, or you encourage families to start with a meeting with everyone there, to sit down and come up with who is going to do what and things like that.
Yeah. So you know what I call this is like I call this the new sheriff in town kind of meeting.
Nice.
Yeah. So if you ask my kids, they do not like the new sheriff, but whatever they have to deal
Right.
with. But you have the new sheriff in town, and you sit down and you say, "All right, everybody, we're going to do things a little differently now, and we're going to split up all this work because mom, dad, we're tired of doing it all, and you guys need to be pulling your fair share." And it's actually not that difficult, like, because there's certain kids that they just gravitate to things. Like I have a boy he's 16 now, but like when he was 14, the thing that he liked to do is literally clean out the shed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He liked the shed because that's where the four-wheeler was. You know what I mean? And so
Right.
to give him the let's clean out and organize the shed job just aligned perfectly with him. So why not like kind of do that? Like don't
Yeah.
torture him if you don't have to. Align that. And I've got another daughter who's really good at trimming bushes. Okay. I know that sounds weird, but like give her one of those bush trimmers and she could sculpt it like, it's just beautiful at the end. So why not align those things? And as you do such, they not only will learn, work ethic in an even more meaningful way, but they'll actually enjoy it a little bit and they'll earn some money.
Right.
Which
Yes.
is the point, because you got to get some money to make some decisions. I'm not a big just hand over money for no reason kind of guy, because if you ask me, I'm still looking, but I don't think there's very many jobs that you can sit around and do nothing and get money.
Right.
In the real world, that's not really how it works.
Right.
So why perpetuate that by doing it? I don't get it.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I love what you said about kind of matching a child's talent to their chore. As a nanny, we spend a lot of time during the day with kids, and nannies are often given tasks. And one of the things that I did with some past families is said, I would love to have your children help me with these tasks so that I'm teaching them how to do them. And so we started with laundry because I was in charge of all of the kids' laundry in that house. And I gave them each one thing a week that I would teach them. And once they'd mastered it, we moved on. So we started with socks, find all the pairs of socks and
Oh
match
my,
them up.
that's the worst one ever.
I know, but
You started with the worst one. That's a good idea.
right. And they had fun like going through the pile because I was in charge of everything else. So they had fun going through the pile and being like, this is a shirt, this is for you.
Yeah.
And
I'm glad somebody has fun going through that sock pile, because I don't. I get mad and I think, let's just throw all these away and start over.
I feel you.
Oh.
So yeah, it was a pleasure to hand that over, and they really had fun, learning how different size socks fold differently. And so if you meet those teaching moments kind of with an open heart, I think they can be lovely.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think you're right.
So yeah, there's also the idea of age appropriate chores. So in your plan, in the Busy Kid plan, if a child is given a chore that is not age appropriate, mistakes are made, do you have do you meet again and reassess? Are there things like that built in?
Yeah, so the good question, and let me start at this. In our system, we actually essentially pitch chores
Hmm.
to parents based on a kid's age. So
Wonderful.
it's kind of nice, and but every kid's just a little bit different,
Right.
and so we do our best to pitch jobs that are age appropriate. But sometimes a kid's either a little bit developmentally delayed or maybe a little bit ahead of the game, and so if that's the case, we make it very easy to be able to adjust those. Parents can just literally put in their custom chores is what we call them.
Great.
They can do whatever they want there. They can also adjust the uh, amount of money associated with that chore, because I'm a total cheapskate. So if wash the car is a $10 job at your house, but at my house it's six. Okay, fine.
Right.
Um, we can change that up as well, and that kind of stuff makes it nice because you can really kind of tailor make it to your family and the needs of your kids and family, right? So
That's beautiful.
that's the kind of thing that makes a lot of sense. But one of the other points when it comes to this, like age appropriate stuff, I believe the best way to kind of do this is start with age appropriate stuff, but move quick
Hmm.
to kind of graduate them to something else. Like you were saying, get them on, master one thing and move on quick, because what we want to do is create a self-sufficient, responsible kid. And to do that, you don't just, have them clean the toilet for 4 years. Like, let's get
Right.
on. You know what I mean? Let's get on with it and get them even more responsible. I love, like, when my kids turned 16, that was where I transitioned them to, you go, I mean, now you can drive, you go and fill the car up with gas. I'm never doing that again in my life. You're doing it.
Right.
You're the one driving. I'm not doing it. Even worse, you're the one that goes and takes the car to get the emissions test done, because I hate doing that.
Ooh, right.
And I'm thinking they need to do that. And boy, specifically my daughters were like, we don't want to do that. I don't want to go and take it through that line and wait and talk to those guys and whatever. That is such a good experience for them, because
Hmm.
after they'll come home, they'll bring me the, hey, it passed paper.
Hmm.
And they're like, I'm like, so how was it? And it's like, oh, it wasn't actually that big a deal anyways. I'm like, exactly. Um,
Yes. And I
so
have found that I need to do that in my adult life. I didn't have in Tennessee, we don't have emissions testing. So when I got to Chicago, I had to do that for the first time and it was scary, but once you're done, it's so not scary.
exactly. Those scary guys at the emissions place are actually pretty nice,
They are, yeah.
So yeah, it's like, but we have to kind of push our kids in that direction, because that's going to get them to where we want them to be, which is responsible and accountable and not afraid to do stuff and try new experiences and get on with it. So it's a great opportunity, I think, to just help them grow up by using, basic stuff like chores and tasks to complete.
That's great. So what is a fair amount of time to get any specific chore done? Is that built into the app as well?
You know what? We don't really address time because,
Okay.
um, you know, that's another thing. Let's be real. Time management is kind of a big deal, right?
Hmm.
And I like to give a kid, and that's why our chores are set up on a daily basis. So if I've got 8 things I have to get done, this is a great teaching moment for a parent or a nanny or whoever is interfacing with the kid. This is a great teaching moment to say, all right, you got 8 things to do today. Are you going to like drag it out the whole day? Or do you want to like just knock it out in an hour? Because I'm thinking you could do these 8 things in an hour. Like, what a great moment to like talk about that. And then when they do like just dork around and drag it out all day, that is a great moment to teach them as well. Like, say, wasn't that such torture? Like, why don't you just knock it out tomorrow? and then you're
Right.
done and you can move on to like more fun stuff or do other things that you know care about.
That's
That's a great teaching moment.
great. That's really a wonderful teaching method. I attended a Montessori middle school and we got assignments. We worked our way up from getting, these are the things you need to get done today in school to 6 weeks worth of work. And that has served me so incredibly well. I can't even tell you of
Oh my
getting,
God.
like, you have 6 weeks to get this entire packet of work done and time management. I'm much better at it after that.
Yeah, for sure. And time management is one of those things that I mean, you truly have to do it just to get good at it.
Right. You have to
Or you have to
practice.
really screw it up to get good at it, right?
Right. Yep.
We've all had those like, oh my goodness, I have to cram for this project to get done, or cram for this test, and like that is so not fun. So,
No, it's not.
so you might as well teach them little, how they can avoid that nightmare down the road.
Exactly. Yes, I love that.
Hello, quick break in the action. I am so excited to introduce a new segment of Chronicles of Narnia, a new segment called Village Moments. Chronicles of Narnia has partnered with Via the Village, which we have an episode about, so you should go check that out. But Via the Village, in case you haven't listened to that episode yet, is an amazing website and community that helps nannies find their next nanny families and vice versa. And it's also a great way to find specifically nanny shares and coverage for like if you get sick or nannies, you can find play dates on there, or families, you can find play dates on there. So it's all about creating a village. And if you haven't checked them out yet, I really highly suggest that you do. They're building communities in lots of different cities, but especially if you're in, a bigger city, Chicago, New York, I believe they have one in Austin. Go check it out. So you can check them out at www.viathevillage.com or search Via the Village on Facebook and you'll get all the information you need. But in this segment, your village moment, we will give a shout out to a nanny or nanny family that is going above and beyond or shows a moment of extra kindness. So basically, anytime a nanny or nanny family is being part of your village, please write in and let us know because I will read them on the air. I want to create more of a sense of community, and this is a really fun way for nannies to say thank you in a big way for other nannies or their nanny families, anything that is helping you create a village. So, our first one, we have the founder of Via the Village, Emily Luange, and she said, I have witnessed Kim Banakovich going above and beyond for her family employer. She will be leaving her position and has taken it upon herself to find a replacement for herself, which is hard to do because Kim is really the best. That was me saying that. Emily did not say that, but I can attest to it. Kim is awesome. So she said, I know I would be so grateful if I was the family. We want nannies to know that they can use viathevillage.com to search for other nannies for playdates, backup, or replacement for themselves. It might be something a nanny wants to do as a favor, or they can work it into their contract that upon their departure from their position, they will offer their search or placement assist for a certain amount of money. So Emily says, I think it's such a great way to leave a position on great terms. And I completely agree. I think that if you presented that to a nanny family as a going away gift or had it in your contract that you are willing to provide that service for a certain amount of money, that's a great way to really leave on such a positive note, which is hard to do because it's such a painful time for everyone when you have to leave a nanny family. But it is part of our jobs. So if you have a something that you want to share, please email it in to chroniclesofnania via-the-village@gmail.com, or you can go on Via the Village and write it on there and I will find it, or on the Via the Village on Facebook. I would love to have more short stories to share with everyone. All right, back to the show.
So this podcast is geared towards nannies, though I do know we have some families that listen too. But if a nanny wanted to bring this up to parents, or potentially a nanny wanted to use this app, do you have some suggestions for how a nanny could almost pitch this to a nanny family?
Yeah, I think, I've never really thought about it like that, but I think that's a great idea. I think this is the best way to pitch that to a parent is, hey, you want me to essentially kind of manage your house, right?
Mm-hmm.
Manage your household. This is a great tool to provide structure. I think that structure really resonates with kids. Kids
Mm-hmm.
do good with structure, most of them,
Right.
and clear expectations and all of that. And I think if you can promote that as, I want to bring structure into your household, but I also want to teach them something they are not going to learn at school more than likely, which is,
Right.
how do you deal with money? And typically when you have a nanny, the family, has some money, right?
Mm-hmm.
At least enough to hire a nanny. So like those kids are probably getting kind of a skewed perspective on how money works, right?
Right.
The money just seems to be no big deal, and things just kind of show up for them. And that's truly not how most of us function in the world. That's not the real world. And so teaching a kid that stuff is super important. So I would pitch it like that. If I'm the nanny, I'm saying, I want to bring structure to your household. And I want to also teach your kids that, the financial success that you have as a family is based on work and getting stuff done. And
Right.
then I'm gonna help teach them that it doesn't grow on trees. This happens because stuff happens, work happens, and then making good decisions with that money is super important. And this is why, mom and dad can afford me to be your nanny, is because they make good decisions about their money, etc.
Right. Yeah, I love that. I love that. And then for a family with the app, can everyone share it on their phone, or is there one phone that has it and everyone just kind of communicates offline in the real space?
Yeah. I would, you can do it both ways, but
Okay.
most kids, if they're of a certain age, have a device of their own. They might have an iPad, they might have a phone, and I think it's a good thing to empower them to have that kind of portal right into their own hands, because they need to be responsible. Once again, like, wake up and think, all right, what am I supposed to be doing today? And I want to go through it and knock it out. If the family just has like a one main computer for everybody, fine, do it that way. Our system's set up to where you can truly go in and just click on, your picture and put in your 4-digit PIN as a kid. So everybody has their own PIN and their own access. So it makes it nice to where, it can be one login, but everybody has their own PIN to go into their own little world. And we've set it up that way specifically, so it's like a family tool.
That's great. I love that idea.
And kids think it's pretty cool to put in their own PIN and act like they're a big shot.
Right.
So I think that's great too.
That's wonderful.
And then they can use that, they can use that whole idea of, I put in a 4-digit PIN to enter it into the website or the app. And I do the same thing on my, on my Visa spend card, just like mom or dad does at the store. Like, this is, it seems so basic to us as adults because that's all we ever do is put in pins all day long. But it's a big deal for a kid. Like, they're like, oh, wow, I got to, boop, 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 boop. And I got to put in my own pin and buy something at the store. Like, that is a big deal.
It really is. Yeah. I mean, kids love playing store and things like that. So I think teaching them even the more minutia of it is a really good idea.
Yeah, and it reinforces, like, hey, I'm like responsible. I can like do my own thing and buy my own stuff, and like it's a big deal. They really start to understand that they're growing up and they're, being more responsible. And the funny thing about it is they go and buy their own stuff a few times, and they know what it took to make that purchase. Like, holy smokes, I had to go clean up after the dog and bring the trash out and clean out the minivan or whatever the case may be. Like, they're not going to just waste their money on something that's going to break in 2 days.
Yeah, dollar store purchases will go way down.
They'll really think twice before they spend their money because they know where it came from. Like, and that's the light bulb moment.
Right. So once they have the money, you mentioned there's 3 categories that you help them siphon that money into. Remind me of what those are.
Yeah. So this is literally finance 101. Okay. It's saving, sharing, and spending. And if you think about it, that's literally what we all do as adults. We go to work, we earn some money, we put some in like a 401k or an IRA or something like that and save for the future. Then we share some of it with like charity or church or whatever we care about. And then we spend the rest.
Yeah.
So that's the exact financial kind of fundamentals that we're teaching a kid, but we're truly automating that. So that allocation or that splitting up of the money is already set when they come in the door. Mm-hmm. A parent can always change that if they want, but we do that as well. We say, hey, put 40% in save, put 10% in share, and 50% in spend. Like, and that's a great way to teach them. You don't just earn money and blow it all.
Right.
That is the American way, but we're trying to change that. Okay.
Yes.
That's why we're like $22 trillion in debt, but as a country, but we're trying to change this next generation to be smarter than we are. Right.
Exactly. Yep.
And that's how you kind of change that thought process, which is, oh, you mean when I earn some money, it splits up into 3 areas, and why, and what am I doing with that money? Like, that's such a big deal.
That is.
And when they can go into that save area and literally buy a fraction of a share of stock, like in Netflix or Amazon or I don't know, something that they're, aware of, like that's such a big deal. A kid earning a little, and earning the money to buy a little piece of stock in a company. Imagine their interest level goes way up. They start to understand like what the point of the whole stock market is and all of that stuff. Like it just totally opens their eyes.
Yes.
I've got 2 boys that one has Ford stock and one has Disney stock. And you know what? Nice. They check it every day on their phone. They want to know what's going on. They know when the market's down. They know when their stocks earn money. They love to like say, hey, where's your stock? And I'm beating you. Mine's doing better than yours. Like that's all great stuff to help teach them.
That really is. And then I feel like if you get them doing that in their teens, then when they get into their 20s, they can, really invest in, compounding interest ventures that will help them down the line.
Yeah. And imagine what they're going to do when they get their like first real job and they're like, oh yeah, you have a 401k option that has some investments in it. They'll be like, oh, I get this. I've done this before. Like, and they're going to make such better decisions on where that money's, invested, and they're going to be able to watch it and understand it and make better decisions. And what do you think that's going to do 30 years, 40 years down the road when they go to retire? Like it changes the whole thing. It changes the whole story.
It really does.
Super important.
And I love this idea too. I just read this book called Nudge, which is about encouraging people to make healthier, better decisions with little nudges. So not being like, you have to do this, but incentivizing good decisions. Yeah. And it seems like this whole app is kind of based on that of, you're not telling a kid you have to do these chores and you have to spend the money this way, but you're saying, I encourage you to do these chores, and if you do, then you earn this amount of money, and once you earn that amount of money, we encourage you to spend it this way. But if you blow all of your, earnings on dollar store gifts and they break, then you learn that lesson too.
Yeah, no, I love it. I think that's a great point. I like that idea of nudging, because that really is kind of what we're doing. We want to empower the kid to actually make decisions on their own.
Right.
And I think it's a wonderful thing when they buy a stock and it goes down and they lose some money. It's like, oh my goodness. But wouldn't you rather them do that with a $20, stock purchase, as opposed to, $20,000 stock purchase when they're 40 and they don't know what they're doing? Like that's just so much better, right? And wouldn't you rather them go and slide their card at the store and buy that thing that they thought was just so amazing, and then it breaks in 2 days and they get that heartburn of, like the buyer's remorse thing? Wouldn't we rather them do that when they're 12?
Right. When the consequences are, when the consequences are, this toy broke, not, I don't have a place to live.
Yeah. And now I got to go live in my dad's basement again. It's like, oh my goodness. Right. So this is exactly what we're talking about. I love that you brought that up. The nudging. I'm gonna steal that from you. But
do. Well, it's not even me. I can't remember the author's name, but it's a very good book. I would highly recommend it.
But we have to truly empower them to make their own decisions. If we're making every decisions for them and being, one of these, I guess what they call now a lawnmower parent, where you like truly mow the lawn right in front of your kid and never let them make any decisions. I've also had it explained as the kind of like the smother mother. If we're doing that kind of stuff, they're never going to learn. And they've got to learn on their own, and that's a great way to do it, is by nudging them or helping them, empower them to make those decisions on their own.
I love that. That's so wonderful. Well, if people are listening and they want to find out more about Busy Kid, how can they go about doing that?
Sure. So we're at busykid.com. That's probably the best way. We're in the Apple store. We're in the Google Android store as well. And at the end of the day, you want your kid to be successful, right? I mean, that's the whole point of having kids. You want them to be successful. You want them to be, productive citizens. You want them to be good and living a balanced approach to life. And I just think that this is, these two things, kind of circling back to where we began, is if they can learn how to work and develop that work ethic, and then use that to make some money and make good financial decisions, that is what's going to get them to arrive at that, self-sufficient kind of successful place. I've worked with clients for over 20 years, mainly business owners that are successful people. And every single time they had those two things nailed. Worked really hard, made good decisions with their money. It is a formula for success. And if we start early in life, the outcome is actually just goes exponentially to where they can be successful like that.
Agreed. And because we're trying to impart financial wisdom to children, how much does Busy Kid cost?
Oh, good question. So right now it's $14.95 for the whole family for the whole year.
Oh, nice.
So it's really affordable for any family.
Yeah.
And then each of the kids, if they get their own Busy Kid spend card, a Visa card, is $5 a year for a spend card. So it really gives them that tool, right? Empowers them to start understanding that invisible money that we've been talking about.
Right. I love it.
Exactly.
I'm so excited about this. Well, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us about Busy Kid. I really love the ideas that you're putting out in the world.
Well, it was fun. Thanks so much for having me on.
We end each episode with a fun, cute story, and Greg has brought one.
Well, it definitely has something to do with money, because that's just kind of the world I live in. But when my oldest son turned 18, I asked him, "Hey, what do you want for your birthday?" And I was so surprised and proud at the same time of what his answer was. And his answer was, "I just really want you to help sit down with me and help me open up an IRA account for myself." And I thought, oh my goodness, I've completely ruined this kid. I can't believe what kind of nerd asked for an IRA when he's 18.
But that's awesome.
Right? I mean, that's just amazing. He'll be able to pay for my retirement, I swear. And that's the goal. But, it just goes to show, if you start kids on the right track early in life, and you don't have to be a perfect parent. You can be, totally bumbling through this like the rest of us. But you can make a big difference in what they do and how they think. And I just think that was kind of fun that he thought, I want an IRA for my 18th birthday. I mean, what an
amazing. Yeah, really well done. Well, thank you so much, Greg. I really appreciate you coming on.
Hey, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
And thank you all for listening. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Chronicles of Narnia is produced and hosted by Martha Reddick. Artwork by Noni Amadon. Theme music by Brad Kemp. Find him at secondbedroomstudio.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Chronicles of Narnia and on Twitter at Narnia Podcast. To contact us, email chroniclesofnarnia@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.
This show has been brought to you by Machine Culture.